Here's a good question for you. When you see these YouTubers who say they are geopolitical analysts with no experience, no education related to this, and they are always always anti the norm. So quite often, well, in every show, they will say the Western media, the collective West, the proxy war in the Ukraine sponsored by the United States of America. It's repeats and repeats. But this is the thing. They get a lot of views on YouTube, and you just wonder, are they just doing it purely for clicks, or are they truly believe that Saddam Hussein was a good guy? Bin Laden, who organized and orchestrated the knockdown of the Twin Towers way back in 2001, are good guys. The leader of China, the dictator, not president but General Secretary Xi Jinping, they seem to love, and everything he does is magic. But he is a billionaire for it. And this is the crazy thing, sorry, going a little bit off topic here. His salary is something like $3,000 American dollars per month. But he has $1.2 billion in his bank account. Who else? Fat Boy Kim in Rocket Boy in North Korea. These YouTubers seem to absolutely love him, who say the collective West and the Western media all links. Now, do you think, here's a question for you, they also talk about the CIA. Do you think that the CIA gives money to CNN to promote something? Or do you think MI6 in the United Kingdom, or MI5, gives money to the BBC? Now, the BBC is a British Broadcasting Corporation, and yeah, it's government, but they also do have not just news, it's also TV shows, and I think nowadays, because of digital bits and pieces, they have BBC One, BBC Two, BBC Three, BBC Four. But here's the thing, they never talk about another channel like in England called ITV or Channel 4. And are they sponsored by the government to promote the Western media according to the government, because that's what the government is paid into, or that's what the government is supporting? Break time. It may go black for a while, or there may be a advert. If there is an advertisement, please do watch it, because it's money for my kitty cats. I'll be back. Please do let me know if there were any advertisements there. I do remember way back in 2020 when I was just starting this YouTube channel. I think it was in my 3rd year, and it's the first year I got monetized. It was the election campaign, and it was actually quite funny because there would be adverts related to the Democratic Party, and there'd be also advertisements from the Republican Party, and there'd be one after the other according to my subscribers. And speaking about subscribers, thumbs up, share, and if you want to donate to my beautiful kitty cats Tokyo and Pickle, you can do it in the link below. So going back to these, you could say, some people call them CCP shills, or Russian propaganda. And they constantly, I watched one today, for example. He's a New York guy. He must be about 40 years old. His name is Danny Haifong, comes from New York City. He does these podcasts on a daily basis. I could imagine he's getting maybe per video like $800, and he does them every day. He's rolling in it, basically. And this is what I don't like about him. He said, please support my channel so I can buy the equipment for it. He's just bought a pair of earpods, which cost what, $200, and a microphone, I don't know, from the 1960s. But that's me being very, very impolite to him. I do watch them, and they do bring in guests, but they only bring in guests who are anti-America and love what's happening in Russia and the Ukraine. They would be guests who really don't like Israel and support Hamas and say they're not a organization, but they managed to. Then they would manipulate it to say that Israel orchestrated Hamas to be the government in Palestine so they could have control. It gets more into conspiracy theories rather than the facts. And the facts they get, well, if it was from the Washington Post or the Financial Times, they would say this is from the government. But when it's from the other media from other countries like RT in Russia or Global Times in China, they won't say it. But the Global Times is actually a state-owned company. In other words, the government tell them what they can do and what they cannot, and say, you put this in your news today, don't put this in the news today, which is, well, the freedom of the press is not there. And this is exactly what they're doing. They're pushing their narrative with very little experience onto YouTube, which is a open sharing platform. They have over 100,000 subscribers. They do get like 6,000-7,000 or sometimes 100,000 views. It's like, wow, how? But it's a break time again because it's sort of early morning when I'm recording this and I'm not 100% awake. You like the new t-shirt? Yeah, I'll be back. These people actually may really truly believe what they are saying, and it's sort of like their project in life to say that all the Western media, which does include places like Japan, Thailand, I'm just trying to think of another one, Taiwan, yeah? And of course like BBC, CNN, Fox, Al Jazeera, the list goes on and on. They would say they're all wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. It's all sponsored by the Western governments. That includes places like Japan as well. They say West, you could say more like it's a country that has democracy, a country that truly has freedom of speech. Places like North Korea, 100%. China, they don't really have freedom of speech. I couldn't be in China now, literally now, saying Xi Jinping is a... No, the police would come, knock on the door and say, Mr. Cooper, you need to come for a cup of tea. And a lot of these people, here's another thing, they use a VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network, which in China is illegal. Period. It is illegal, but they still continue to use it, and they would deny the fact. For a VPN in China, you need to have permission. Now, do they have permission? I don't really know, to be honest, but they are promoting the Chinese propaganda or the Chinese news to the West via a Western platform, hence YouTube, etc., like that. And they do get lots of views for their different point of view. So I was thinking one day maybe, or I don't know, set up another channel, for example, and join in the propaganda, but so I can get lots of dosh for it, because they seem to have quite an easy life, that they sit down in a makeshift studio. Yeah, I have one back in Cambodia. And with that, they just go, the West is bad. Now, we all really don't like Joe Biden. He was a bad choice of president. And a lot of people on my channel do like Donald Trump. Not all, but I would say the most. The most people on my channel are the Americans. I think it's like 60-something%, followed by England, Canada, Australia, and then it goes down into the other countries like the Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia, some places in Africa, etc., etc. So that's my main audience, and my age group is from, as I said quite a few times now, from about 55 all the way up to 85 years old. And how we have been raised is sort of like, you can criticize the BBC, for example, but they do have quite a lot of supporting documents. These what's the word, a polite word for these propagandists for Afghanistan, Iran, etc. These countries that may prove a threat to, you could say, the world because of their views. Now, in Iran, for example, back in the 1970s, women could just walk around free, and it was quite even for Westerners, it was a great place to go. But it got controlled by Islamic law, very strict Islamic law, and the women have to wear now the veil. I'm sweating a little bit because it's rather hot. Have to wear a veil. It's sort of like Saudi, yeah, so strict. Saudi Arabia was so strict. Women weren't even allowed to drive. In some places, women are not allowed to vote. Now, could you live in that kind of world, in their world? And when you see these big protests related to Palestine, etc., etc., you sort of start to wonder what is going on with the world. Are these people, these propagandist persons, I'm going to show you some pictures as we go along, so maybe you can you watch them on YouTube. Maybe you disagree with me, but the thing is, on my channel, I'm actually quite open-minded. If there is a comment and it doesn't have any bad words, fine, I will leave it there. These people, they're awful, because they will delete comments, and I have checked this. I put in a comment and bam, it disappears. They've sort of allow me to watch it, but they don't allow me to comment with it. And so it's quite good when they have a live stream and they say, oh my god, what are you talking about? And who are these people are commenting? It is a tiny percentage of the world, but they actually make a really good living over it. Now, you would say in New York, it's one of the most expensive cities to live, and how much would you need per month? Would 4,000 be enough American dollars? I would say, well, no to that one. Maybe like 8,000 or 9,000 per month would be sort of adequate to live, because it's just ridiculously overpriced, expensive. I really am going off topic. So this is sort of like an idea that I would come across, and I would like to do an experiment to whether you can do some videos for 6 months about, well, she is good, Fat Boy Kim is good, everything's okay, and the West is really, really bad. And is all the propaganda that we get from, again, BBC, CNN, sorry to repeat the same kind of newspapers, but they are like the most popular ones, or Fox, or Al Jazeera, or NBC, ABC, etc. The list goes on, or CBC in Canada, I do believe. I've forgotten what I was going to say, so I'm going to take another break and I'll rethink. And welcome back. So this is sort of like an experiment that I would just like to try and just see what happens, if that makes sense. What would happen if there, and you could find out. It possibly wouldn't work, but I would have to start up a new channel. It would have to be, you could say, incognito for people who don't know me. I wouldn't advertise this channel, and it's just to see if you can put in what I think is a lot of BS, and bringing in some old military experts who haven't been around for a long time, and they haven't got an idea about the modern style of warfare or the modern politics in the 21st century. A lot of them seem to be stuck in the 20th century. Running business in the 20th century was very different to how it is running a business now. And again, I think a big part of that is related to the internet. Many businesses did fail when the internet came across, because the people who advanced to it succeeded, but a lot of people who said, oh, the internet, not going to do it, that they sort of like faded away very slowly, or sort of crashed overnight, the option with that. So what do you think? Do you think I should try this experiment? What do you think of these people who say that North Korea, the people who live there is fine, and the Western media don't do the propaganda, say there's no poverty? Or in China, when they say they've alleviated absolute poverty, but people actually believe it, and they go to videos where they have alleviated poverty, or a small town Yeah, but this is more like a town where they show the Western media, say, oh, look at this, and everyone, and these people actually get paid to live in this small village, for example. It's all sort of things that we don't know. I would love to actually go to China, and not to show the normal things. Oh, look at Beijing or Shanghai. Look at all the flashing lights at nighttime. It's so marvelous. So, there's no pollution. There's no. Everything is clean sky. All the trains are really fast, etc. Yeah, but I'd like to see someone who goes behind the scenes of Shanghai, where the poor people actually live, and put that on the internet, showing they haven't alleviated poverty. There are poor people in China. There are poor people around the world, period. Yeah. The other thing is, you have the problem in the United States of fentanyl. Now, where does the components of fentanyl come from? It comes from China, and it manages to get to the United States because they're importing it as a drug for medical use. Now, a little bit, a minute bit, we do know that fentanyl is used in the drugs we do for painkillers or pain relief, but it's a minute part. And anything higher, well, we've seen the whole situation, in the United States, in, let's say, Philadelphia, or another one which seems to be trending at the moment would be San Francisco as well. But these are the countries you believe in, and when you see them, they're not allowed to do anything bad against that country. There is a gentleman who on YouTube called Alex. He is from Canada. He works for a company called I Chongqing. It's a government-owned company, and he would always say things bad about America, Canada, and some of his experiences way back in the 1990s of Croatia example. And what happens on the battlefield, well, it's difficult to describe. There's a guy here in Thailand called Brian Beletic. Now, he is a former Marine. He was in the Marines for I don't know how long. I can guess now he's about 40 years old, lives in Thailand, don't know much about his background, but he is a traitor to the Marines. And what about the saying from the Marines, you're a Marine for life? So he was stationed in Okinawa, I do believe in Japan, and just really hated what's going on with the military. So after his time, he decided to leave, and then he slags off. Can I say that word? Yeah. He slags off how bad America is. And yeah, he does live in Thailand. The cost of living is a lot lower than America. I don't know if he has any kind of sort of like pension from the US Army, but he sort of like, you signed a document basically saying you're going to be a Marine, this is your terms of service, you'll go through military camp learning how to shoot a gun, and you know the whole thing. We've seen it a million times on different documentaries and some fun movies like Stripes, if you remember that, with Bill Murray. Going a little bit off topic again, and with that I think I'm going to press the stop button and you can take a break, and it's going to fade to black, or maybe there is an advert from Made in China. A question for you. So when you watch the news or read a newspaper, like in America, do you watch Fox News? Do you watch NBC? Do you watch CNN? Do you believe everything they say? Does it even come to your mind that this news is sponsored by the FBI or the CIA or the secret military intelligence forces like the Secret Service, for example? Does it make any kind of sense to you? Are we brainwashed in the way that everything that we see on TV is, on the news on TV, that everything is from the government to brainwash us in that way? Our lifestyle, do we honestly sometimes really care? You have a salary, you have a pension, you have a house, you have a car, you have a happy family. Your life doesn't change too much. You could say the middle class in that way, and you're contented with life. Then, but you could go to someone in Russia or someone in China. They have a job, they have a pension, they have their own apartment or house, they have a car, and has the government allowed them to do so? Yeah, in China it's a little bit of a different story, but in general you would say they are actually happy. They can support their life. Do they like the Chinese government? Are they happy with the Chinese government? Are you happy with the American government? Are you happy with the British government? In general, would it be yes or is it no? I'm going to do something a little bit sad. Many people know, if you watch my channel, my mother passed away in the end of October 2023. The government are going to take 45% or 40 to 45% of her savings, and the rest of it, that 60 or 55%, will go to my three sisters and I. Is that fair? That you work all your life? That's government for you. And so with the British government, no, I think it's a big scam, but I can say it. Yeah. But in China, you can't. In Russia, you can't. North Korea, you can't. Pakistan, you can't. And that's the sort of difference. And that's what sort of ticks me off. I remember one guy, again, I may have mentioned him before, called Danny Haiphong. He's in New York City. He's earning a lot of money by doing these podcasts or these things on YouTube. He even went to the United Nations and he raved it as a great success. But if you looked around when he was rabbiting on about something, people just weren't interested. They were on their cell phones, texting, possibly to their wife or to their husband, saying, what is dinner, what are we doing tonight, rather than listening to this, well, I'm going to use the polite word, I'm going to say muppet in that way. So even in the West, we get the people who hate the West, and they've done quite well, and their evidence that they produce is just something from media, and then they would talk to some kind of military expert who was in the army like 200 years ago, which is so out of date. You do have the people in China who obviously can't say, I hate Xi Jinping, and put one finger up at him. He would be arrested immediately. But then they say they have freedom. Yeah, they do have a limited bit of freedom, but they don't have as much freedom as you could say in the West, the collective West, the Western media. If I say these words enough, and so maybe I get some more than 1,000 views on this video. So I'd like to hear your comments. How you know that I've read the comment, it will be done by a heart, and maybe I'll put some words underneath, and then you know. You don't have to agree with everything I say. You can disagree, but give me concrete evidence of your disagreement. Now, I haven't given you any evidence. It's just me waffling on, but I'm giving you food for thought. What is happening? What is really happening? Do we ever know what is really happening in the government? Why do government officials have to sign a Official Secrets Act, which will be in America, which will be in the UK? They have to sign that because there's lots of sensitive information that shouldn't be produced to the public. And when these idiots like the guy from Wikipedia or Edward Snowden, who work for the NSA, I do believe, in America, release them to the public, and then people say, no, that's good, freedom, etc. That's just, he signed the blinking Secrets Act. And he may not agree with it, then resign from the NSA and move on to another job and respect your country. Yeah? You need someone like James Bond to go over there and deal with the situation. I think I have rabbited on long enough about this, and again, I would love to hear your comments. If you want to comment there, then make sure there are no foul words. Yeah? But if you don't want your comment there, YouTube will automatically delete any foul words. I think that's quite fair. I have spoken for 15 minutes plus at the moment, and I have lit, but it's sort of less. That's okay. But for writing, please don't. And do you support Putin? Do you support Zelensky? Do you agree what's happened in Syria or Iraq or Iran? Do you think Bin Laden was a good guy, or Saddam Hussein, or Colonel Gaddafi, or Fat Boy Kim, or the Kim regime in North Korea? Do you think the Western media is pulling the cotton wool, a shade over our eyes? Do you believe some of the videos that come out on the Western media from the collective West? Or what I believe more is, I'm not a big fan of Twitter, or X as it's called nowadays, X. But when I see a video that's not taken from Western media, from the collective West, but I sort of went, yeah, okay. But if it's from someone just with a phone who's in a protest, then I sort of believe them more, because it's real footage. But you also want to hear different points of view. This is another thing that I don't like about these people on YouTube who would say that Kim in North Korea is a good guy, or whatever. They only invite guests who support or agree with their narrative. I saw it once when there was this live YouTube feed, and there were 3 people who, let's say, love Mao Zedong, the father of modern China, as he's like to be called, and there was one German guy who didn't. And what they did, they just bullied him. And that's when they showed their true colors of who they actually are. And I felt sorry for the German guy. He was trying to speak, but they just constantly bullied him. And eventually they sort of unpolitely asked him to leave because the channel is not doing so well. Not too sure about the whole story, but that's how they are. These are these people. They are not to be trusted. And maybe they're just doing it because, well, many people watch them because it's a different point of view from NBC, for example, or Sky News as another example, and they actually make it very believable. Now, whether it is, again, that's up to the viewer. I like to watch them, and I try to keep an open mind, but I do come from the West. I have lived in Asia for a long time, over 30 years nowadays, and with that, maybe it's the mentality. So what is this guy talking about? And he may be absolutely brainwashed. So, from the collective West, with the mainstream media in Pattaya, in Thailand, in January 2024, I will wish you happiness, peace with everyone. Do keep an open mind. Don't just go with one narrative. Go and look, by all means, read at the West, but also go and have a look at the East. And what is believable? Now, that's the whole thing that I'm talking about. What is believable and what is sort of like unbelievable? And is this because we have been manipulated throughout our lives through the Western media and the collective West, and not to believe what happens from a newscaster in Vietnam or Laos or in the People's Republic of China? But it's okay in the Philippines, and it's okay in Taiwan, it's okay in Japan, and it's okay in South Korea. I think we do believe in that way because it's open, there's nothing closed. It's a two-way conversation, it's not a one-way conversation. I've been rabbiting on too much and I've got to do some shopping. But I will see you soon, and I'll be making some more videos about Pattaya, etc., etc. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Do go to the playlist. Do go to the actual forum. I started this channel way back in 2018. It was in October, and that is another video I'm considering about making in the future about my early days in YouTube, and see the difference. Has it got worse or has it got better? God bless to all wherever you are in the world. Have a epic day. Now, one more thing. One more thing. Here you are in January, maybe in America, but let me just turn the camera around, and you can see it's about, I don't know, 30 degrees now, blue sky, January. I just prefer warm climates, and I've been very lucky in my life to have had the opportunity to go and travel when I was younger, and to actually live in these warm climates. I won't say the opportunity, I worked really hard to get here, and you could say I retired a long time ago, believe it or not. I retired a long time ago, and I'm actually sort of happy in my lifestyle. I'm not the richest man in the world. I would love to have more money. So if anyone wants to sponsor, if anyone's got this far, yeah, or anyone wants to sponsor, please do it in the super thanks in the chat below. All right, time for lunch. I'm going to go. I will say bye-bye. Have a great day.